Hey everyone, again, good morning. So I'm going to do a 30-minute flexibility series. So if you're unfamiliar with the flexibility class, this is one of my absolute favorites, and I added it to the schedule. I know that a lot of people have flexibility goals as far as wanting to be more impressively flexible, but what I really like about the flexibility class is I think you'll really be surprised and you'll be pleased at how good it makes your body feel, and also how capable it makes you feel just like going through your life, like reaching into cabinets and lifting things up, that stuff doesn't hurt as much and you're not quite as stiff, and you actually feel like you have this sort of freedom to move within your own space, and this absence of fear that you're going to kind of hurt yourself. So my favorite class, flexibility and mobility, because the mobility is important for me to again help people just be able to feel great and enjoy and appreciate their lives. So like I did with the barre class just a few minutes ago, I'm going to teach a shorter series. It's 30 minutes. I would highly recommend that you repeat 2 or 3 times, because what I do in my class is that's what we do. We'll do the stretch, and then we'll do a short series of stretches, and then we'll go back and we'll repeat them 2 or 3 times, and that is where you're going to get the benefit of doing the stretch. So for the video, I'm going to do the full body stretching, go through all of my exercises, and then the idea is that you'll go back and you'll repeat it a couple times, okay? So I'm going to start from the top of the body and we'll move down. So what I have here, I'm at the bar, but if you have, a countertop, a chair, that'll work. If I do have something that is attached to the wall and won't move, even like a door frame or something, and I can kind of leverage against it, you can get deeper into your stretches. And then what I have here is a chair. I do want it to be pretty low. You'll see what I mean when we get into it. And then I have a yoga block here on my chair, but I can use a padded chair. I can use a pillow. If I'm wearing tennis shoes, that works too. This is just so that I can rest my foot comfortably on my chair without feeling it, without it being painful, okay? So we're gonna start from the top here. Now what's most important is that you give yourself permission to be doing the flexibility class. That is a mental thing. You have to give yourself permission to be here, because if you can't release into the stretches, you're not gonna get the benefits from it. You have to tell your body that it's okay to let go, which is kind of hard. Well, things are a little tense right now, but you can do it, okay? So I'm gonna take a nice deep breath. Let's reach those arms down and up. And I'm going to drop my head as I release those arms, and I'm gonna roll all the way to the floor. Now this is not a stretch. What I want you to do is just take a little mental body scan. Go up through those fingers, through those arms, through those shoulders, through the back of the head, down through the spine, down through the legs and the hips, and I want you to just feel how everything feels. Usually something feels tight. You feel the stretch kind of dominating in one area. Something probably hurts and feels stiff. You probably feel like you can't, I feel like I can't even relax my head right now. And then take note of how close those fingertips are to the floor. Take a deep breath. Exhale, roll it up. All right. Now what I'm going to do here is with my countertop or whatever I'm holding on to, I'm just going to use that for a little balance. If it's not bolted to the floor, don't feel like you have to put a lot of weight into it, but I'm going to stand super close, and I'm just going to open the chest. I'm starting with the top of the chest. I can stick the chin out and stretch to the neck, and then I'm going to round, tuck the chin, opposite direction. So again, I'm doing this from the shoulders and the neck. Lift up, tuck the chin, rounding opposite direction, and try that again. Lift up, open up the chest, round in the opposite direction, and I'm going to turn into the right arm here
and pull my head down into the chest. So I'm trying to stretch through the neck, and I'm trying to pull the shoulder blade away from the back, from the rib cage. Take a deep breath. Go ahead and release that.
I'm going to take the other hand to whatever I'm holding on to, and I'm going to circle that right arm up in a big circle, reach behind me, and then turn away from that arm, and then drop that head opposite direction. Deep breath. Opening up that shoulder. Turning. Opening up both arms. Now, if I am anchored on something here, I could do this with the door frame if I wanted to. I can lean away and open the chest. This is not going to feel super great this first time through. You're going to want to come back to it. Don't feel like you have to stand still. You can wiggle around. Take some deep breaths. And I'm going to continue turning, and I'm going to take that into the opposite arm, drop the head away. Nice deep breath. Giving yourself permission to be here. Release that bar, circle that up and over. Left hand, and drop the chin. Same thing, other side. Open that shoulder blade away from the rib cage. Pull on the head if it feels good. Now, if you're watching this again, and this is your second or third time through, go ahead and really lean into that. If this is your first time, take it easy. You're just warming up. Go ahead and release. I'm going to start over from the top here, but I'm going to walk back just a little bit, and now I'm going to open up through the center of my body. So again, if I can also do this against a wall. I'm going to lean forward here and open up the front of the body, and then round, and this is through the center of my back. So pulling the belly in, tucking the chin, tucking the hips. 2 more times. Take it forward, open up the chest, send that chest forward, drop the head back. Roll it forward, hold the belly in. Second or third time through, really leverage, really lean into that. Open the chest. And round. Tucking the hips to the rib cage. And release. One hand on your door frame counter, and I'm going to drop the ear to that shoulder, and I want this opposite arm to hang dead weight. You'd be surprised at how hard it is to stretch out your neck. We don't spend enough time doing it, and you really kind of have to give yourself permission to be here. This arm is dead weight. If I can lean away just a little bit, I can feel that a little bit deeper. Draw the arm up the side. If I have something to leverage on, I'm going to lean away. Dropping the head heavy. I can do this standing up on my own 2 feet. If I'm not holding on to anything, then just separate the feet so you have a little bit of a firmer base there. Slowly look down towards the floor. Feeling that stretch move to the back of the hip. And then look up at the sky. Feeling that stretch move to the front of the hip. Back down to the floor. Reach across. If I'm not holding on to anything, again, those feet are separated so that I can really reach out and stretch through that hip. If I have a little something to leverage on here, I'm going to send those hips out. Take a deep breath. Slowly turn those feet. And if I can anchor, I'm gonna send that back. If not, just take those hands to the thighs. I'm really trying to lengthen through the back here. I'm not in my legs just yet. I'm working through the back and through the hips. Nice deep breath. Round that up. And I'm going to open up the hip. This is my first hip opener. Don't try to press into this. I have options. If my hips are super tight, open it up on that chair. You can go a little bit deeper, open it up on your leg. If you have something to leverage on, you can really sink into that. Don't feel like you have to hold still. You can wiggle around in this. The last thing you want, which I'm sure we've all experienced, is kind of panicky feeling when you're holding a stretch. That happens, you shake it out, you start over. Go ahead and recover. I'm gonna do all of that on the other side. So I start with that hand on the bar, dead weight in my left arm, head drops to the shoulder, and just let it hang. You can send the hip out a little bit. And if I don't have anything to hold on to, separate those feet. Otherwise, really send that hip out, reach the arm up over the top. And then slowly turn the head towards the floor. Turn the head towards the ceiling. Turn back to the floor. Reach for your anchor and send those hips out, or separate those feet and really reach. Deep breaths, breathing into the hips. Slowly rotating. Now if I have something super steady, I can really send those hips back and decompress through the spine. Lift the tailbone up. Again, we're still working through the back. We're going to get into those legs in a second. Recover, roll it up. Open up the hip on the other side. Take it across or open on your chair. If you want to anchor back, you can. This is just my first preemptive hip stretch opener here. Oh, dirty floor. I want to take it pretty easy here, especially with hips. Your piriformis is that muscle right there that connects your sacrum to your hip. It's very strong, can get very tight, but it's very small. It's not a big muscle, so it can tear pretty quickly, pretty easily. All right, so go ahead and I'm gonna fold flat here. I do wanna take my hands to a chair or something here, but I'm not putting any leverage on it, so it can be something that can move around here. And let's go ahead and for the first time, just stretch through those legs a little bit. I'm going to do a standing cat-cow. So I'm gonna bring my hips in, tuck my chin. Now I'm gonna roll up, and then I'm going to lift the chin, lift the tail, and roll down. Now my legs can bend or stretch. I'm not in that hamstring stretch yet. I'm working on my spine mobility here. Roll up, lift the chin, roll down. Let's do that a few more times because that feels amazing. Roll up, lift the chin, lift the tailbone, roll down. One more time. Roll up, lift the chin, lift the chest, lift the tail, roll it down, and then flatten out that back and drop the head through your arms. Tuck the chin to the chest. So I'm tucking in my shirt here. Tuck the chin into the chest. Deep breaths. You're gonna feel this under the arm here. You'll probably feel it through the neck and the spine a little bit. Deep breath. Let's roll that up. Now, if I were teaching my class, I would repeat those series before I moved on to the lower body here. But I'm going to move on to the lower body. Go ahead and reach for the foot behind you. And I'm going to press the knee back and press the hip forward. So this is a quad stretch. Any stretch, guys, is yucky the first time you do it. So I want to squeeze and release. And squeeze and release. I'm just convincing my body that this is a good idea here. And after I do it a couple times, it's going to feel a little bit better. Go ahead and squeeze and hold. Deep breaths. And then release that foot and take it into your hip stretch again. You notice you can feel this opening up a little bit. You're going to feel that it's a little bit deeper. Send those hips back to deepen the stretch. I'm going to lift the tailbone up. Now, if you have really open hips, you probably like to get that leg a little higher. I would encourage you to stay no higher than this low bar. You can always deepen the stretch by taking that tailbone up, because what you're trying to do is close the gap between the hip and the thigh. And when you get that leg higher, I'll show you real quick, because I can do it, right? You can get that leg higher, but it's just so much easier to hunch this way, and I'm not accomplishing what I'm trying to accomplish. I want to actually tilt the other direction. Go ahead, release that, and switch to the other side. Reach for the foot. That one's more for your pride, right? Getting that leg up. Kick the knee back, and start that squeeze and release. There's a hair on my face, and I still want to touch my face. I'm not going to do it. Squeeze and release. Squeeze. And then squeeze and hold. Press the hip forward. Deep breaths. And release. And then go ahead and take that into your hip opening stretch. tilting the tail up, and then remember, you don't have to be still. If the leg's across my other leg, I like to kind of drop and lift that hip, kind of massages across the piriformis there, which is that muscle that we're stretching. Piriformis. Deep breaths, breathing into it. And go ahead, release and recover. Okay, let's take this more into those legs. So I would go ahead, use a wall or something you can press against here. And I'm going to take the foot behind me to start stretching the calf. Press the back of the knee. I'm really trying to press the back of my knee into the center of the ring. Press, and then bend the knee, and then stretch it. Bend the knee, and then stretch it. So I'm moving that stretch from the Achilles into the calf. I'm going to do this a couple times. I'm going to pump it. Guess what, guys? Ballet dancers and physical therapists call this flossing. You know, it's not the flossing that you're thinking of, but this is what I'm kind of pulsing through the stretch here, but safely. I'm not bouncing. Now, I'm going to send those hips back, flat back, and I'm going to take that into the front knee. Bend, now to go a little deeper, I'm going to kick those heels back. So I'm starting to warm up that hamstring. Again, I want that tailbone tilted. When the tailbone tilted, I would rather have hip closer to the thigh than my nose closer to my knee, okay? That doesn't matter. The relationship we want is the hip to thigh. And I always want to stretch when I'm working on my flexibility with the feet parallel, which means the toes are facing forward, and then as much as possible with a flexed foot. Go ahead, release that foot, and then drop the whole torso down. So again, it's not my head and chest, it's from the hip down. Take a deep breath. And recovering, I'm going to slide that foot forward just a bit, and then send the pelvis forward so that I can stretch through the hip flexor. A little different than the quad, we already did that. Now once I'm here, some things I can do to deepen the stretch is I can bend down and up. I wouldn't do a whole lot of this the first time through, guys. Bend down and up, and then I can also reach up and over and across to feel that deep in the hip flexor. And then to really deepen it, if you're ready for that, I can actually lower and put the knee on the floor. Floor's a long way for me, so I stay up here. All right, I'm gonna keep progressing in this series here, so I'm gonna straighten that front knee. I might have to scooch back a little bit. Lower the torso down, and I'm gonna open up the hip. So if I have the wall here or the bar, I'm going to take the same arm as the bottom leg, low, and the same arm as the top leg, high. And then I'm going to try to pry myself open, stacking. For me, it's the right hip on top of the left. Sinking the shoulder down, looking at the sky, and then I'm sending all my weight into my back heel. So if you have a wall or counter or something, push into it and look up at the sky. Deep breaths. And love-hate relationship with this one, I'm going to reverse that. Keep my feet where they are and turn the other way. And you're going to feel this through what's called your IT band, which connects the outside of that hip all the way behind the knee. Deep breath. Go ahead, unravel and recover. I can't emphasize enough that you want to repeat all of that. It's going to feel way better. Okay, into the other side. Press into that heel, and we're going to floss. Bend and stretch. Now, when I am bending that knee, it's going to pronate, which means it starts to angle towards my other knee. Don't let that weird you out. You think your knees track forward, they don't. They track inward when the feet are parallel. Hold that stretch, and then send the hips back and bend, stretch in that front leg. All right, to deepen this stretch, the tailbone lifts up, the toes really pull back, and then I press the back of the knee down to the floor. You're pressing it down. A few more little pumps here. Release the foot, sinking down. Take a deep breath. Check in with that tailbone to deepen the stretch. Tilt the tailbone up to the ceiling. And recover enough that you can slide that foot forward. Send the pelvis forward. And this is my hip flexor stretch. So again, if you're ready to take it a little deeper, bend the knee down and up. Reach across over the top, or lower that knee to the floor. And do not feel like you have to stay still. You can move around in this. Guys, if you haven't stretched your hip flexors for a while, this is going to feel interesting. It does not feel good at first. Go ahead and recover. And then situate so that you can drop that torso down. And we're going to open up the hips. So same arm as that forward leg is low, other arm is high. And then I'm going to twist and look at the ceiling here. Deep breaths. And then very carefully, we're going to reverse that to the other side. IT band stretch here. Open up. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I'm going to bend and stretch that a little bit because it's super tight for me this morning. And the last thing I want is for my muscles to panic. I want them to know that this is okay. Deep breath. And let's go ahead and recover from that. All right, so if I was in my class, I would definitely repeat that 2 or 3 times before moving on to this last one here that I'm going to show you. But let's go ahead and move on. So this is my favorite way to get nice and deep into that hamstring stretch. So what I'm going to do here is I have my chair and my block or my cushion or whatever, and I want to set this up next to a wall, something that I can just use to help steady my balance. If it's, I can also just reach forward and hold onto the back of the chair. So I'm going to set up my supporting foot under my hip, my foot under my hip, and then I'm going to take this foot and I just want it flexed as much as possible. I'm just resting it on my chair and then flexing those toes back. This might be it for you guys. This might feel just fine. So if I'm ready to move on, I'm going to stretch the knee down. Then the next step is to take that tailbone and I'm going to tilt it up to the sky. Now this is pretty intense the first time you get into it, so go ahead, release the pelvis, and then tilt it back again. So again, most important relationship I can work on here is the hip bone to the thigh. So I'm doing that by tilting the tailbone up, stretching the knee. If I'm ready, I can fold forward. Now if I've done all my warming up, I've been through my hip stretches, my calf stretches, everything a couple times, you can go ahead and start to hold this one a little longer. Hold it and take some nice deep breaths. We'll just take a few right here. Check in with that tailbone as it tilted towards the sky. A few more deep breaths. Go ahead and recover from that. Bend the knee, go ahead, and we're going to switch that to the other leg. So that's one that I like to do several times through and hold for a while once I'm warmed up. So go ahead, let's switch sides. So I have that foot underneath the hip, and first step is press the back of the knee down to the floor. And then from there, when I'm ready, lift the tailbone up. And first time through, you want to go ahead and release a couple times. And then tilt again. And if you're ready, fold it forward a little more and just try to relax. Take a couple of deep breaths. Make sure that tailbone is reaching towards the sky. One more nice deep breath. Give your body permission to be here. Sink into it. And go ahead and let's release. Now I know, especially if you are a dancer, that stretching with those feet flexed can be extra yucky for you. But that's the best way to work through the calf and work through the hip and take some of that strain off the hamstring when you're stretching just with that foot pointed. So a lot of strain on the hamstring, and we want to distribute it evenly. So let's go ahead and come back to our center. We're going to take a nice deep breath, breathe it in. And I'm going to tuck my chin and roll down. I'm going to do that body scan again. And I want you to notice how you might feel this time through. So hopefully you feel like the stretch is a little more evenly distributed and that there's not any sort of sharp pains anywhere. And then I hope that those fingertips migrated a little bit closer to the floor. Let's go ahead and take a breath and roll it up. And then I'm going to take my breaths that are acknowledging my progress, appreciating where I am on my journey, and it's appreciating my body and what it does for me, and accepting where I am on my journey. Let's take a nice deep breath, breathe it in, and let it out. And we'll do that one more time, breathe it in, acknowledge, accept, appreciate, let it out. Nice job. Now we are just kind of getting started here with our online streaming. So if you have things you want to see us do, if you want the classes to be longer, shorter, what styles you want to see, any questions you want answered, that's what we're working on right now. So go ahead and send us feedback because we want to provide what you need during this time. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time.